Welcome to the chaos that is my life and the live stream. We appear to be going live, and that makes me very happy because when I tried to do this 3 minutes ago, it did not go live. So who knows? I suspect I pushed the wrong button. I thought I would enable closed captions, but I think I need extra stuff for that nonsense. Alrighty, we have Uriel Sage, Bob Hewitt, SC Guitars, and Creevery, of course. Jeff's Guitars, Spike's Guitar Garage is in, as is Lisa, Robert R. We have, well, crikey, the gang's all here. Electric Lady Guitars, Devon. Says, Ben, Crimson PRS template set is awesome quality. Thank you very much. Doubles up as a jigsaw puzzle for the Grump kids. Grump kids, I love it. I've decided that I'm going to be the happiest granddad ever if any of my progeny decide to have children, but that I want them to ironically call me Grumpy. As in, instead of granddad, it's Grumps or something like that. I think that would be hilarious. Brandy B, how you doing? Sean Fahey was the first one. He says, hello world. An old programming thing. Guitar Addicts Workshop, how are you? Says, hello everybody. Ben, any plans for Crimson to make inlay chisels again? This is from Guitar Addicts Workshop. Do you know what? Yes. I always have the issue that I spend a lot of my time doing this and making videos and all of that, and that undeniably helps sell stuff. But in reality, what I would love to spend a lot more time working on prototypes and manufacturing and all of that as well. It's swings and roundabouts. I don't really know where to spend my time, but a good set of inlay chisels is on the cards. It has to be. I'm even going to write that down. So I suppose I need to ask how you guys are doing. Have you had a good weekend? Has it been productive? Have you spent time with your family? Or is your family a guitar collection or tool collection? Let me know. Jeff's Guitars and Martin of the Nuclear Village. Okay, now, we have fewer people here. We are on the Crimson Guitars Extras channel. We've only got 53 people watching. Somebody didn't like my intro, of course. I need questions. Give me questions, and I will give you a live stream. If I don't have questions, I will, stop streaming. So, there we go. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, though. Crimson is back on the stream, and there's students coming in, a couple of whom I think are in the live stream. Tutankhamun, how's it going? Brandy B, Ben, what is your favourite style of music? What is my favourite style of music? Honestly, again, it is such a difficult thing. If you've been watching my personal Instagram at the real Ben Crowe, I reposted something from Reddit, and it was a collection of cassette tapes from 1991 when I was 10, and let's see, we had Metallica, Pearl Jam, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusions 1 and 2, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is one of my favourite albums of all time, Soundgarden, Badmotorfinger, and Nevermind. All of those albums came out within 41 days of each other when I was 10. I only really got to know all of them later in life due to an overly religious upbringing, as it were. But the Use Your Illusions album, Pearl Jam 10, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and Nirvana in particular were formative in my sort of mid-teens. I stole them from my brother, those exact albums. So there we go. Okie dokie. Now, yep, Tutankhamun is in Piddletrain-tide, waiting for the course tomorrow. I am not going to be there tomorrow. I'm going to let you get on with the first day of your course without any interruptions, but Tuesday morning I'm looking forward to meeting you. Okay, okie dokie. Questions. So yeah, that was, I suppose, that era of music. I love I love. But I also listen to a lot of blues, both modern and vintage, and hell, depends on the mood. Skrillex, bring on some Skrillex if I'm in that sort of a mood. So I will not be pigeonholed. Gosh darn it. Okay. Now. Yes. What hardware do you prepare to accomplish it on a guitar? Okay. So essentially we're talking about, heavy rock at the very least is my basic, what I prefer. But my guitar building ethos, I've never thought of my guitar building ethos, but essentially if I do think about it, what I mean and what I need is a guitar that has the absolute best sustain and the best acoustic sound I can possibly wring out of it, because while that doesn't necessarily transmit itself through the pickups, i.e. the acoustic sound, the sustain and how it rings out and all of that does to a certain extent. And I think that you can have the muddiest, sort of grungiest, genty-ish, is that even a word, tone, but it will always help to start with something that is as beautiful and characterful as possible, and then you can dial it back and add, whack up the mids and lower the treble and the bass, etc., if that makes any sense whatsoever, to get that sort of tone, because I haven't tried for a long time. But anyway, hardware wise, the best quality you can, period. You want to make sure you've got good quality stuff and you'll be all right. Okie dokie. Oh, Spike's Guitar Garage says travel is open from the US to the UK as of tomorrow. I did not know that. If anybody has been tempted to order a course but has not yet, coming from the States, then now is the time. There is a large summer sale going on at both Crimson Guitars and the Vintage Tool Shop, and everything except for the 3-month course will have a discount applied at checkout at Crimson Guitars, at least. So it doesn't show up on the listing itself, but when you get to the shopping cart, you will see that you're getting 10% off or 15% off or whatever it happens to be per thing. So yeah, bring it on. Courses. I'm so excited. I'm planning and working on expanding the courses greatly. Now, we have a question here. Okie dokie. Actually, we have a couple of questions here. Okay, Stephen, why was there a log in your in a pot on your oven? And yeah, I wouldn't get away with that. I sincerely want to know why. Oh, we have a super chat, the first super chat of the evening. If anybody desperately needs for me to see the question, then super chat is the best way to do it. Dave Robbins has sent $10. Thank you very much, Dave. I very much appreciate it. And he says, plastic or wood for binding material? It does, unfortunately, depend on the guitar itself. There are, if I'm building myself a Black Beauty style instrument, I'm 100% going plastic, and I have an issue with plastic. I don't like resin. I love how it looks, but I hate the idea that I'm building something that uses so much plastic. That's something for another day. The small amount of plastic that is the binding that we're using, I don't have an issue with that. So it does depend on what look we are going for. With a more naturalistic instrument, I love wood binding. I really do. I will try and go for a faux binding and scrape it away if that works. But yeah, bending a nice bit of maple or something like that works very, very well. And it's something that I enjoy doing. Now, there are some timbers that you just wouldn't want to do that with, i.e. Wenge is incredibly, I mean, short of chemical intervention, I don't think that's even likely to be possible for most guitars, to be honest. Ebony is very difficult for the most part. So yeah, it's a challenge. It can be incredibly attractive, but it's not necessarily necessary most of the time. Okie dokie. So this is from Zazafraz13 on our Discord channel. If you are not a member yet, go and check it out, please. At The Real BC, what are your thoughts of what makes someone experienced? As in the notion that you need to have 20 plus years working under a master job title in order to call yourself a job title. Like a recent interviewer of mine suggested. No joke. Wow. I understand there is no substituting putting in the time to get experience, but does 20 years seem a bit high to set the bar to call someone inexperienced? I mean, that's 2/3 of the time I've already spent on this earth, so I can only claim to be an experienced CO2 generator by that measure. Yeah, I suppose it depends on what you started doing when you were 10. But yeah, I mean, the problem is, whoa, there's a there's a buttload of super chats here that I need to not miss. Time in and of itself is a nonsensical measure of experience. It isn't time elapsed. I started playing guitar when I was probably 14, and I am no better as a guitarist now than I was when I was 20. Period. I think I hit a period 5 or 6 years ago when I actually realized what vibrato was and how it actually worked, and that was like mind-blowing. But other than that, nothing has changed. You can have... So I think it is very much about state of mind and how many actual hours you put in, but also how many hours you put in while really seriously giving a shit about it. We're going to get back to this question in a second. Kiwi Quarters has sent $5. Thank you very much. Says Ben, I have an ash body blank. It's only about 13 inches wide, but given the state of ash trees, I want to do something special with it. Suggestions? Yes, ash is probably going to be extinct to all intents and purposes in the not too distant future, I suspect, which really, really sucks. 13 inches is smaller, but by no means too small. I've built guitars that have a body that is only that wide, but I would put in a couple of racing stripes. Nothing is not improved by racing stripes. And give yourself an inch or two and just sort it. I think that would be great. Andy Mandiak has sent $5 and said, for biltong and Diet Coke. Thank you very much. In fact, I need to phone my mother because she makes the best biltong in the world. As a future subscriber to your magazine, might I humbly suggest that you give attention to craft, electronics and pickups? I absolutely agree. That's a damn fine idea. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for saying that you're going to subscribe. It's one of about 1,400 projects, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, which means that I really need to do it properly. So we're talking to publishers, we're talking to printers, we're talking to all sorts of people about that now. And Divergent Guitars has sent $10. Thank you very much. And said, my family has a 1950s K mandolin. I see those words and I think, oh my God, that must be beautiful. A couple of the high frets have Patna / green corrosion on them. Short of a full refret, how would you approach making the frets pretty and playable again? That's nothing. Patna builds on the outside of the frets. It's not going to go more than a micron or two deep, if that. I think it depends on the materials you're talking about and what they've been exposed to. Here we go. So, for example, aluminium next to steel for a long time is going to, if I remember correctly, basically weld itself together because the two have a reaction. But you're just talking about brass-based frets, probably nickel-based maybe, exposed to the air. So it is just a normal level crown and polish, if a level is even needed. So, yeah. I would first of all start out with thread rubbers and go coarse, medium, fine, super fine, and clean it up that way. And once you've gotten rid of at least the top, maybe level it with a leveling beam, something like that. You should not have to actually replace the frets at that stage. But, well, you can never tell. Now, I'm going to go back to my question here. About being experienced. This is a really, really good. It's a really good question. Now, I have an issue where I feel, and many people do feel, like it's the whole imposter syndrome thing. And just saying I feel like I have imposter syndrome sometimes then implies that in reality I actually know that I'm pretty good, and then that makes me feel, you arrogant, etc. And that being said, you guys all watch me. You guys all, I hope, get something out of what I put out, and I'm helpful and at the very least entertaining, I hope. And yet, I spent a good 10 minutes this morning looking through other people's builds on Instagram and going, wow. And feeling like I have no right to be talking to you guys, because I'm building to a deadline. I'm rushing. I'm talking to a camera. Only half of my attention is ever on the actual build, ever. And I think that I would be a much, much, much better builder if I wasn't filming, if I wasn't thinking about all of these other things that I've got going on. And I'm not going to stop, trust me. But I think I would be better, absolutely. When I was studying at West Eton College, when I was learning how to build viola da gambas and Baroque-style instruments, I spent far more of my time than I should have, with girlfriends and bands and the social life. I didn't make the most of my time there. And this is the same thing. So, with regards to your job, okay, this person interviewed you and said that he wants 20 years of you working under a master. I have people that have worked for me. Okay, let me say this in a less nasty way. You can work for somebody and subsist in a job without ever learning anything. It depends on you. It depends on... I spend... Unless I'm actively trying to stop my mind from thinking about work, I'm always thinking about work. I'm always reading magazines about business or advertising or management or YouTube or social media or advertising. I'm a sponge, imbibing all of this information so that I can do my job better. But, and I love that. The end result is great. You guys are here. 100 of you again, 96 people currently, and only 41 likes. But I know many people who, even in a job that does require, a serious amount of mental power, like, I know some IT guys, for example, who do their job 9 to 5. They've got their certs. They know what they're doing with this stuff, but that's it. Boom. They're done. And they don't think about it the second they're out of work. And to really become an expert, you need to have that extra thing. And, I absolutely love learning. I absolutely love what I do. And if I'm going to do something, I want to do it to the absolute best of my ability. Now, your real question here, Zazafraz13, was what makes someone experienced? I don't think it's 10,000 hours. I don't think it's 20 years. I think it could be as little as 2 years. Absolutely. or less. Embedding yourself in a subject. I'm going to talk about watches. I love watches. I love horology. I love how amazingly talented watchmakers are and what they can do with a little thing that is mechanical yet tells the time to such precision. Yet, I mean, maybe 3 years ago, I allowed myself to get into it. And this was me actively saying, hey, I'm going to stop thinking about guitars. I'm going to stop thinking about business. I've always liked watches. Let's do some research into watches. Now, 2 or 3 years later, I can talk with pretty much any guy or girl selling watches professionally. I can talk with, anybody who's into the hobby and hold my own. I'm not an expert, but I know a hell of a lot because I dove straight into it. So if you want to be an expert guitar builder, do it a hell of a lot. Think about it all the time, read about it, watch the videos, and you'll be an expert in very short time. I call myself a master guitar builder. People call me a master guitar builder. I know that in 20 years' time, what I do now and what I can do now is going to look like the immature fumblings of a tweenager. I like that word. I'm going to go and talk to my 13-year-old, nearly 13-year-old, after this. Anyhow, there we go. That was interesting. Damn fine question. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. Here is a would you rather via Discord from Chain Melted Snake, which is, that is a name. Would you rather swap lives/skills with your favourite living legend guitarist, or have your favourite legend commission a signature guitar from me? The latter. Emphatically the latter. Do you know what? I am a homebody. I am happy on my own. I am happy. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. And I know that sounds weird. But you're not here. You're all the way over there, all 103 of you, 101 of you. That makes me feel weird, people stopping to watch. You're not in the room with me. I'm not having to smile and worry and, I need my workshop. Yeah, we had a barbecue at Crimson Guitars the other day because Laura from Broken Wind was over for a course, and we said, hey, let's have a barbecue. We'll have some beers, we'll have some, and the staff can stay after work, and it was fun, and there were about 25 people there, and it was nice. Little Josh made me a mimosa, which was something else, a little bit too sugary for my diabetes, but hey. And halfway through, I realized that I was standing on this side of a picnic table, talking to everybody else that was on the other side of the picnic table, because I am comfortable with my workbench here, with there's a delineation between my space and your space, and it's just who I am. So, yeah, there we go. I don't even know how I got onto that. Yes, there we go. How I got onto that, and that was a long diversion, was I do not have the personality to be a famous guitarist. I don't have the energy to be on stage night after night after night, to be talking to people and dealing with the sheer amount of stuff and the sheer amount of socializing that is necessary to be a famous successful guitarist in this day and age. You can't do it over video. You can start, but at some point you need to, shake people's hands and stuff. And while I do enjoy doing that, by the end of a guitar show, after a day or two of solid doing that, I need to lie down in a quiet room and just say, oh, I'm on my own. We're good. thank you, we're done. And that's where we're on. Okay. Anyhow, Rob Tootle says he's had a day off and done nothing and loved it. I have been... I'm sincerely hoping to... I'm selling a bunch of my stuff, including some watches, and sadly a lot of my tool collection, because I want to buy a flat. I want to put together the deposit to buy a flat near Crimson, or maybe near the tool shop actually, to rent out to students who come to Crimson, because it would be so cool to have students renting a flat that I own that's got one of my personal guitars and amps and books and all that sort of stuff. I think that would just be so cool. So I'm selling a bunch of stuff. So I spent today pricing up a lot of that and playing badminton with the family, which was also fun. Look, I'm still standing up. Now, Spike has sent a couple of photographs of a Shopsmith, a 1952 Shopsmith Model 10ER drill press, overhead router, lathe, 11-inch bandsaw, 12-inch disc and spindle sander, table saw and jointer. Those things give me anxiety. It's incredibly cool. It's very, very cool to look at. Working with... What am I talking about? I love Leatherman. You know, I'm sponsored by Leatherman now, which blows my mind. They saw me talking about them on the live stream, and here we are. I've got a new titanium Leatherman charge, which I am in love with, mainly because the blades open from... I don't have to open it and then close it to get the blades out, like on my other one. But anyway, multi-tool... That's a multi-tool. We're talking about a Shopsmith, which is a bunch of machines in one. I always think that there has to be a compromise somewhere. And I suppose even... Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the quality of the machine. Well, they're beautiful things. It's so scary. Stephen has sent a question. Says, we know about the chickens, dogs, cats, gecko, and the elusive cricket, who has gone for freedom somewhere else. But what is one absolute dream pet that you'd love to have if you don't already have them all? I'm in the process of boarding some driftwood for a paludarium that I hope to fill with vampire crabs. I just want more excuses to build things. What the hell is a vampire crab? I mean, that's insane. I have always thought about various different pets and animals and creatures and things, and, you know, to be honest, the older I get, the less of them I want. That being said, I do have chickens and a gecko and puppies. My wife was just mowing the lawn and the puppies were not happy. And staff. I have lots of staff. Please don't tell them I said that. So yeah, no, I think I've always liked the idea of snakes, for example, but nowadays I've also seemed to have developed a lot more empathy than I had when I was a kid, and feeding them live stuff and all that. It's just like, no. Anyhow. Ooh, Juliet Billings says, please can you say hello to Graham Billings? How's it going, Graham? We're visiting Crimson tomorrow, but you won't be there. Can you remember he drew the awesome picture of you last year? I do. Let me know in the... let me know in the comments what time you'll be there, and I will pop in. I'm supposed to be filming for Nebula for the next episode, but I also do have a load of stuff in the back of my van that needs to go to Crimson, so why not? I will change my whole week around just to meet you guys, and meet you guys tomorrow at least, and we'll go from there. So yeah, if you at SC Guitars and let me know, I will make sure I'm there. Alexander A. on Discord said, hi Ben, I'm not sure if it's too late to be asking questions here, but I have two questions. How are the new chisels? Okay, I know that they're going to be amazing. I know the steel that's in them. I know the people that manufactured them, and all of that. I haven't needed them, so I haven't actually taken the time to sharpen them yet. But they are going to be amazing. And would you say it's worth investing? Ha ha! I'm so sorry, people. And would you say it's worth investing in a Bill Carter plane? I have the money, but obviously they have a high price point. I'm a student if that has an effect on the answer. Okay, so I have 2 Bill Carter planes. This is one of them. I think that's going to be in... And I actually managed to swap a Stanley number 1 for this, which means I got this at half price, or close to. And I swapped it from Bill himself. I also have a tiny little, one of his little boxwood thumb planes that he made, and that I bought at auction because nobody else had spotted the BC on it. And I showed it to him after the auction. He was like, yeah, I made that. Okay. So with that, knowing that I am an absolute fan of his, knowing that he has personally told me himself that he is not going to be making planes for much longer, he keeps on saying I've retired, and then he comes back out and he does another one. But he's an old man. He's not going to be here for much longer, and I assume that his planes are going to spike in value when he unfortunately is no longer with us. That being said, I do not think buying one at full price at the moment is a good investment. I think that specifically as a student, there are many other things that you can do with your money that would be a whole hell of a lot better for you in the long run. And I'm so sorry that I'm saying this, but if you have 1,200 or 1,400 quid to set aside as an investment, then invest it. I would 100% say put it into your pension pot if you don't want to see it again for the next 40 years or 50 years, or actually invest it in the stock market in a low risk fund that is indexed to the stock market or something like that. I really don't know what the hell I'm talking about with that, but those things on average get a 5 to 7% return year on year, and have done for the last 20 years, indexed to the S&P 500 or thereabouts. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. This is a stunning plane that I love using. It cost me effectively 700 quid. Yeah, I bought the Stanley number 1 for about 300 because, I own a tool shop. But I should have sold the Stanley number 1 for 700 or so quid at the point. They'd gone down in value. It's not an investment. It's a lovely thing that I love using that is worth a few bob and might appreciate, might depreciate. The investment that I'm talking about into your pension, etc., as uncool as that sounds, would be a lot better for you to do. Now, that being said, I started the vintage tool shop with, I think, $2,000 and a lot of time, but I went around and I bought broken old knackered planes and saws and things like that, and you pick them up for £5 at a car boot sale. You spend half an hour restoring it, and suddenly it's a £30 plane. Take your £1,000, do that, sell them on eBay, and before you know it, I have under 8,000 tools listed at the moment right now because we've had a sale going on and we've sold a lot. But I've got around about £50,000 worth of tools in stock right now. at what I paid for them. And I started this company in 2018 with $2,000 and a lot of time. Pretty good investment. I've also pulled out. I don't talk about money very often. I make. I think I paid myself about £200 a week or so from the tool shop. Otherwise, there's no real point in having it apart from, hey, I get cool tools. It's a vintage oxyacetylene torch startery thing. So since I've opened it, I've made some money out of it. Yeah, that. Start a business. Start the right business. Or invested in your pension. I'm so sorry. I wish that somebody had told me something like that beforehand. I never knew as a teenager anything about money. The first time a bank gave me a credit card, I was like, whoa, free money. And where was I? 9 years later, I was bankrupt. 8 years later. Bankrupt. We are now 12 years after that, and life is great, but it was not easy. So, yeah. Whew. Okay. I'm not sure if I got a message from Andy Mandiak. Oh, yes, I did. There we go. Okay. Scotsman via Discord. Hi, Ben. What's the best way to flatten a neck surface prior to fitting the fretboard? I don't have a number 7 plane or know how to use one. A leveling beam would do it and would be long and really arduous. I think for such a large piece, it looks about 120 millimeters wide or so. If you're gonna, cut it down to as correct the dimensions before. Remove as much material as you can before leveling it, if you're going to be doing it with something like a leveling beam or sandpaper on a big flat board of MDF or something like that, for sure. The best way to do it is a hand plane. It doesn't have to be a number 7, it could be a number 5 even. You could probably even get away with a 4 if you really had to, and a good straight edge. But a hand plane is what you need. Yeah. Okay, come on then. So Ben Tyreman disagrees with me entirely and says, always worth investing in it. Bill Carter is a genius. I do not disagree in any way, shape or form with that. Bill Carter is a genius. The planes are going to go up in value. I'm sort of counting on it, even though I don't ever want to sell this. But at some point, my family, I'm going to be gone, and the family are going to be using my tool shop to sell stuff. So, hey, I hope that it will have accrued in value by that time. But putting, say, £1,000 into a Bill Carter plane and hoping that it's going to be worth 1,200 quid when unfortunately he dies in 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 years, that is not the same as putting £1,000 into an indexed fund or something that's accruing 7% a year. In a year it's 1,100 quid or 10,000 or 1,070 or something, and then you've got compound interest and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and you can take out the dividends and it there we go. Juliet Billings, I will see you guys at 2:00 tomorrow. Fantastic. Neil Jelks, I got it. I remembered. See? I'm not so bad with names. Agreed as well. Mr. Waffles says, speaking of planes, I keep getting outbid on number 7s. It is frustrating. They are... It seems that a lot more people are into building at the moment, and the price on vintage tools has gone through the roof. And unfortunately, the same is the case is the same for supply for me as a dealer. But yeah, they're going really, really, really. Ben Timon says, "How do I cure my TAS, tool acquisition syndrome?" There is no cure, short of, I think, extreme marital intervention. Robert R says, "Bacon cheeseburger. Still not sure why it is taking so long for you to get the package I sent there." Okay. Since the 21, the post said they tried to deliver it. Since the 21st. Robert R, have you emailed Crimson Guitars with tracking details, etc.? I think it might be you that we're talking about. There is a package that somebody sent to me that got held up in customs because we are required to pay a fee, which is fine. The problem is we weren't told. We had no idea that this was there, and it was an email or something. Somebody saying, "Hey, have you got this yet?" that made my staff at Crimson look into it, and then they found an email from this company in our junk or spam or something like that, and we then realised, hey, it's a real thing and we should pay this. And so that if that is you, if it's I think some wood tops, etc., we're on that, and there was a charge and we've paid it, so it should be on the way. Matthias Lindgren says, "What tools would you consider really important when building a kit guitar?" Screwdriver. Define kit guitar. If it's a Crimson Guitars kit guitar, I could do the entire build with my Leatherman. Or I could go over to your granny's house, and I swear the cats are never on my roof, ever, unless I'm on the live stream and there's a cat just there, just distracting me, just to be cattish. I could go to your grandma's house and I could find enough tools to put together a Crimson Guitars kit, unless... Can you hear that? Unless you have opted for the one where we haven't leveled, crowned and polished it, in which case you will need the essential fret leveling and dressing toolkit, of course, currently on sale at Crimson Guitars. So yeah, a good kit, you shouldn't need very many tools. A bad kit, you might need a router. You would probably need a power drill of some sort, preferably a good quality battery powered one, and some nice long drill bits and quality drill bits and things like that. You might need a plane in order to fettle things, so probably a little block plane, a low angle block plane. I can't really answer your question. Depends on what you get. But the essential fret leveling and dressing toolkit is essential. It's in the name. Uriel Sage says, "You know, there are entire suburbs in New England dedicated to people who like planes. The houses all have massive garages for them. Unsure why there's only one strip of road to get there, though." Lol. Yes, I just did say lol, unironically. You can beat me if you ever meet me in person. So I want to know, Ben Timon, if you have any of Bill Carter's planes. I do love and would like, he makes some planes out of old brass back saws, brass, so when the saw is really damaged, and he leaves the name of the saw company on the side, and I mean, they're attractive. Yeah, I don't know. The problem is, any one of us could make one of those planes. Not maybe necessarily to the same level of quality. He is an expert. He's been doing it for a long time. But we could. Okay, Creeverai says, "I do not understand collecting tools or whatever else. In the case of tools, why should I pay £1,400 for a block plane when I can get a high-quality Veritas Lee Nielsen, which I will actually use?" I use this one. You've seen it in videos a lot. I don't talk about the fact that it's, it's worth more than £1,000. It's bronze, it smells. But it's a truly impeccable plane with the tiniest of mouths. It's just lovely. Now, that being said, I can't even. So this is the top drawer. This is a very early, small mitre plane, dovetailed. I bought it. Well, I found it in the bottom of a box. I didn't actually buy it. It's got the sweetheart, same shape as on the Bill Carter here. This is probably worth about £1,000 or more, actually. And I have it for the investment because I have the tool shop and these things do come in. And yeah, you find them. Now, other tools in my collection are a couple of Crimson Guitars leveling files from a long time ago. A very small little wooden plane, but it's hollow. It's rounded, so that's a nosing plane or something. This is probably worth about £40 or so. Little Stanley. I've got a couple of Stanley 101.5s, which are worth about £500 each, that I found in a box. So for me, even before I had the tool shop, I hunted for them, and I would go to car boot sales and markets and auctions and things. And when you know what you're looking for, you can pick up bargains. I've got some planes. I love a bargain. Okay. So this looks like a couple of sticks, essentially, held together with pegs. I can't really see what you're seeing on there from this distance. You see this? This plane doesn't have a blade, doesn't have a wedge. It's cracked, it's damaged, it's This plane came in a giant box of standard wooden moulding planes that somebody just dropped off in the ship and just left there. It was made in at least the 1600s. It's like the same era as the Mary Rose. And I don't know if it's hugely valuable, but it cost nothing. And at the very least, it's a good number of hundreds of pounds. And I love, and so should you, making a couple of hundreds of pounds out of nothing, except your own knowledge and acumen. It's great fun. Anyway, sorry, talking about tools and collecting and bargains. Zazafraz has sent $5 Thank you very much, and said, thanks for answering my question on Discord. Absolute pleasure. And thank you for letting us peer into your mind tonight. Recharge in the AM with a coffee on me. Thank you very much. I absolutely... So there's a local coffee roaster, and I love their coffee, and they've just set up a pop-up just over the last couple of months. They've been set up a pop-up which is actually en route in between my house and many other places that I go to regularly, and I finally stopped there today. It was divine. So much so that 2 hours later I was back again with the rest of the family having another cuppa, and I'm seriously considering using them to roast my own blend to then sell on at Crimson Guitars, because best coffee I have tasted in a long time. If you're in the UK, Reeds, Reads, check them out. They're fantastic. Okie dokie. Questions about guitar building, not about investments or tools or whatever. Here we go. Inky Guitar says, hi Ben, question for GGBO 22. I'm already planning. You and me both. I wanted to do an inlay with Damascus steel on an acoustic. But I'm worried about how to get it flush with the back. Big plans before finish. All right. Honestly, your very, very best bet is to glue it in flush first. I would, to the absolute best of your ability, I would use probably epoxy. I would etch the back of the Damascus steel so the epoxy has something to grip to. Don't make it so tight that you can't push it in with normal pressure, because you do want to that glue to have a way to escape, even if it's at the ends, and then you bind. But I would put the back, it sounds like an acoustic guitar back, I would clamp that onto a perfectly flat board so that it's not going anywhere. Clamp it, or maybe use the masking tape and super glue trick or something with just no margin for error underneath it. And I would then, for example, if my steel is 2 millimeters thick, this is an acoustic guitar back, make the steel 1 millimeter thick, okay? And make your cavity 1.2 millimeters deep, and then fill that with epoxy, put the steel in, and then clamp it down with wood going across the steel, so that it is as close to perfectly flush with the top of the back as humanly possible beforehand. Okay, now after that stage, you need to use a file very carefully to flatten it down without touching the back. If you sand over something where you've got a soft substrate and then something really, really hard, you're going to create dips and waves and troughs and things like that. So you want to get it absolutely flat using a file. And funnily enough, this is what you need. A Crimson Guitars fret leveling file on a nice quality handle. You can, instead of going straight down, you want to angle it and go across so you can feel what's going on and whether you touch the edges or not, and take that absolutely flat so you've got the minimum of sanding. Minimum of sanding? Bri W has sent a £10 super chat with no question. Thank you very much. And if you do have a question and the super chat got away from you, please at SC Guitars or Crevery and let them know, and I will try and sort it out. Lumber Jim says, my wife says you have a soothing voice. Would you consider recording bedtime stories? I would love to. Honestly, in all seriousness, I think one of the best experiences of my entire life was reading the kids' book Bubble Trouble to my children. I loved that, and have often thought about doing audiobooks. I'm going to have to record the audiobook for my own books, the guitar building books and things like that. But yes, that is honestly a dream job for me, for what it's worth. So yeah, Lumberjin, thank you, thank your wife on my behalf. Whew. Knight YYZ says, I'm a tool and die maker by trade, by the way. Verniers are close enough for most, but for 100% accuracy, use a mic or a micrometer. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but I agree. Okay. Okay, Lisa is talking about, everybody's talking about measuring. Best sandpaper grade to put on my Crimson leveling beam sides for general fretwork, 320. We have finally, actually, in the Crimson Guitars shop is rolls of adhesive backed or PSA backed sandpaper. So yeah, and I think it's 320 grit we use for general stuff. I lie. Hold on, it's there. I think there's various grits actually. I tend to use 320. It's fine enough not to. It takes a little bit longer to do frets, but I wouldn't want to level with anything much coarser than that. Okie dokie. Okay. Wow, we've got 118 people watching this evening. That's better than it has ever been on this new channel. So that's good to know. George Davis, on shielding, if you have a guitar with open cavities, could you just paint the pots? No. And the connection points of the switches? No. That could utterly mess everything up. You need to have a Faraday cage of some sort. Now, it does not have to be 100% complete. The electrical waves have a certain size, so if you've got a gap that's relatively small, i.e. a sound hole or something like that, just painting the rest of it with shielding paint, obviously Crimson Guitar shielding paint, is going to be enough for 99.9% of the electronical germs that might be getting into your system. Vulcan Essen has sent a €5 super chat. Thanks to you very much. It says, hi Ben, inlays. Is it better to use the freshly cut inlay for tracing the cavity or to work off from the same template for the inlay and cavity? Cheers, V. I'm going to change my name to something beginning in V just because that sounds so cool. Must because of the movie V for Vendetta. Has to be. That must be why I'm thinking this. Anyhow, there is always going to be a difference. Once you've cut your inlay using whatever template you're using, you are then going to use various files and sandpapers and things to finesse the shape and get it right. It will change the shape of it, even slightly. I will always say mark around the inlay itself if at all possible, and use that as a thing that you mark around in order to get the best possible fit. Alrighty. Divergent Guitars agrees, says reading bedtime stories to kiddos is the best. I seriously considered setting up a whole YouTube channel just doing that, just because. But time. Crimson Custom Coffee is the next step in the business, maybe, from Matthias Lindgren. 100%. I mean, we've been looking into it for 6 months or so now, already. But, yeah. Franz Truter says, I just chucked out my last guest after a braai or a barbecue. Too much red wine. So what did I miss? I have never invested on the stock market, and I gave somebody advice to invest on the stock market rather than buying a hand plane. Can you believe it? I think that's the biggest takeaway from this evening so far. Your Real Sage says, raise his hand. I have a question. How should I thickness the back of the neck before carving? I'm having trouble getting it dead flat or straight from the 1st to the 12th frets. I get it close, but not as accurate as I want. I mean, close is probably good enough, to be honest. To get it absolutely perfect, you need a 12-inch straight edge to measure it and make sure that you don't have any rock or dips. Small leveling beam is something that it sounds like I'm just here shilling for my stuff. But a small leveling beam, it's perfectly flat. It's the right sort of size. You could actually use the leveling beam to get that final bit of the way, or you can actually buy machinists straight edges in various lengths. So yeah, a 10 or a 12-inch straight edge, so that you can actually measure it and be absolutely straight, is the way forward. But yeah, well, it's one of those things. A way to do it is to have the neck clamped down so that it's not. You don't want to put pressure and force it to bow or do something it doesn't want. But assuming your fretboard is perfectly flat, you can put the neck. Maybe use the masking tape and superglue trick. Tape it down to something that is perfectly flat, and then use a router sledge to then route it so that it's perfect. Just make sure you don't route too much, please. Please, 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 please. And again, I say please. Alrighty. Rob Tootle says, would you rather have a guitar-shaped bathtub or a bathtub-shaped guitar? Why do I have to choose? I want both. I want both of these things. I've seen some really cool guitars that don't have the traditional curves and shapes. So, yeah. JR's GGBO adventure is in the house. How's it going? Now, guitar-shaped bathtub, I think. Simply because I don't play enough of my guitars as it is, and I'm starting to feel guilty about that fact. Oh, Cyberpunk, good point. Borgonian Evolution says, Ben Crowe, probably more from Cyberpunk. V is the main character name too. That is a very good point. Paul Deacon says, hi Ben, rose gold grain filler. Can you produce it for sale? Yes. 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 Drop us an email, say that I said that we could do it, and they'll shake their heads and go, Ben, what have you done to us? But yeah, I'm 99.9% certain that we could actually do that without too much trouble. Neil Jelks says, I read the Whiskers cat food packet to my kids. My cats, not kids. I haven't quite got to that stage, but I mean, I talk to them all the time. I walked into the kitchen today, stroked my cat. I was thinking about something else, and I look at my wife, and she's like, "Did you not just watch me put his flea treatment on? Why did you stroke him?" I said, "Well, you didn't warn me. Of course, I didn't see what you were actually doing. I don't look at what you're doing all the time." And she's like, "Why did you stroke the cat?" And I'm like, "I always stroke this cat. This is like the cat." So I've had my flea treatment today. And my wife has realised that I don't pay attention as much as I should, which is a problem. Matthias Lindgren is saying why I should end all of my correspondence with the bee emoji. There's a bee emoji. Okay. Now. Okay. Oh, here we go. I have a question from Bride W. Thank you very much for this £10 super chat. And this is the second £10 super chat. So I'm going to have to make sure my answer is 100% worth your investment. And I do appreciate the support. Hi, Ben. I have a carved top guitar I want to modify by adding a 5-way switch. The only issue is there is no flat surface to run a router on, and the back is too deep to reach through. How would you do it? Okay. That's not yawning, that's thinking. It's thinking noises. I mean, it very much depends on how... Okay, fair enough. So the inside of the guitar where the switch back wants to fit, it doesn't have to be flat. You could... What I would do is I would cut the slot and I would drill that out at either end with, I think it's a 2.5mm drill bit. Preferably a very good quality center point drill bit while you're getting on with it. And I would drill it out at either end and then very carefully cut the slot. Once I've got that sorted, you might end up using... This is a little tiny Japanese saw that we sell at Crimson Guitars for use with... It's mainly for acoustic guitar bridges, actually, for where the strings go and all that. But this would be very, very good for that particular job. In case that's your question, your next question. Once you've got the slot, you put the switch in place and you see just how much of the blade, i.e. the actual switch tip itself, how much room you've got to play with that. You might find that the top is thin enough at that point that you've got enough movement. The screws are probably too short. You will probably have to find new screws of the same thread. So I think they're M3s or M3.5, something like that. But I would try and get away with that. If that does not work, and it does depend on the switch, you can modify the switch itself. I wouldn't want to be blindly fumbling around on the inside of an acoustic guitar, carved top guitar, trying to carve a flat into a curved thing. Okay, I really wouldn't want to be doing that, even if I had access, for a Dremel or something like that. Let me see if I actually have a 5-way switch here. There should be one somewhere. I don't use them very often at all. There we go. Ha! Okay. I thought as much. All right, fine. So what we've got here is a flat surface, and it's a bent piece of steel in an L shape. I would, if that didn't fit properly, I would make a cut about sort of 8mm in on either side in the bend. I would then bend the top so it matches the curve of your jazz guitar, and if necessary, re-weld that. You'll then have a bit sticking up at the ends. You have to file that away, but you can customize this switch so that it curves to match the top, so that it meets properly and perfectly. Your screws are going to be going at an angle. Okay, remember that. So the screw holes are going to have to be customized after the fact. It's not going to be too difficult to do, but that is what I would do. I would customize the switch rather than the guitar. I sincerely hope that answer was worth the £20 super chat that you sent. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm quite happy with that because, yeah. Because that's a question I've never had before, and this excites me. Go on then, give me questions I've never had before. Vulcan Essence coming with another €5 super chat. Thank you very much. V, and says, hi Ben, Nebula. After masking the fretboard, you used another file. Which one was it? And why was that necessary after crowning with a triangular file? Cheers, V. Okay, so what that was, I'm not going to reach out, you don't need to see it. And it should have been in the edit because I did try. I'm pretty sure I explained it, but that was a fret end finishing file. It is a much, much, much finer file. You would not want to crown with it because it would take forever. Seriously. But it's incredibly fine, and I use it every now and then to get rid of the crowning file's scratches, because it's the same as the sandpaper. You start at 120 grit, say, then go to 170 170, 180, then 240, then 320. You go through the grits. I don't want to spend 3 hours with a coarse fret rubber when I could spend 20 minutes with a coarse fret rubber, because I spent 10 minutes with a finer file. So in reality, what I need to do is actually make several different grades crowning file. I've never thought of doing that. Thank you very much. So yeah, that is what we needed to do. Alrighty. Now, my phone has been going off, so there are questions. I'm sure of it. Borgonian Evolution says, question, how often will oil type finishes like tongue or true oil need to be... True oil isn't an oil finish. True oil is a varnish. True oil is a wipe-on polyurethane varnish, essentially. It has an oil-like component to it, but it's not anything like tongue oil. So how often will oil type finishes like tongue oil or guitar finishing oil or linseed oil or something like that need to be recoated to prevent wear of the stain below it? It seems like I'm already seeing fading where my arm rests on the body. Okay, so actually, yeah, true oil is another one of those things. I think that most oil finishes are a lot more delicate than a lacquer. And part of the character of the guitar is that over time you will see where it is being touched and played and manipulated. And that's part of the character. So it's down to you, and it's down to how often you play it. But if you're seeing wear, then add more finish. It's just the way it goes, really. Bri W says, great, I will do that. Thank you, Ben. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm glad to help. Now, question from Creverai. Were the leveling beams you sold in the GGBO still perfectly flat after years of abuse? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Of course they were. I paused because I was going to have the guys. I asked people to check them and re-level them if necessary. I never heard back from that, so I'm going to assume that they were. And then I thought, well, assumptions are bad. How can you lie to this man? And then I realised that, hey, I've been using them to level frets and have been checking very, very carefully to make sure that the frets are level. And yeah, they were still flat. B, masking tape and super glue trick. You put a strip of masking tape on the beam and on the sandpaper. Why don't you glue the sandpaper directly on the strip of tape which sticks on the leveling beam? I failed at attaching the sandpaper and have high spots where the glue is. So that's exactly the point, really. You can actually use the bottom of your super glue bottle to spread the glue and make it into a thin film, as long as you then move very quickly and get everything glued down properly. Also remember that where you put the super glue bottle down, it will probably stay for a while. So there is that. It depends on your sandpaper. I have had issues with sandpaper before where if I put the super glue just goes off much too quickly and it doesn't really adhere things properly. Whereas I know that there's a slightly shiny finish on the back of the masking tape, and that just makes it work better for me. Essentially, the super glue is, if it's being applied directly to the back of the sandpaper, it gets sucked into the sandpaper very quickly, goes off very, very quickly, and then doesn't do its job properly, basically. So the whole point of the masking tape and super glue trick is that you can take these things off with ease, and you've got a shiny bit and a shiny bit, and you've got a layer of super glue between it, and it's holding a lot of pressure laterally, but when you pull, it's just like, whoop, we're sorted. So it feels like a little bit of a waste, but of masking tape at least. But yeah, the other thing that I will say is cheaper masking tape tends to have more body to it. So if your masking tape feels spongy, then don't use it. Use a thinner, better quality masking tape for this trick. So there we go. Kiwi Quarters has sent a $5 super chat. Thank you very much again. Okay, good question. How thin can you go with an electric guitar body, given routes for controls, pickups, etc.? It depends on the physicality of the controls that you're putting in. But even so, I think the thinnest electric guitar that I have ever made, the bulk of the instrument was about 20 millimeters thick. And it was curved, so it was 20 mil on a curve to fit over my belly and all that jazz. And it was a stunning guitar, actually. I did it because it was made out of solid bubinga and it was heavy as all hell. So you can get pickups with short lugs. You can even bend the lugs on standard ones if you're careful, and then re-tap them so that they have a smaller profile. We've just made a custom pickup for Nebula. Well, watch next week. The pickup worked. It just doesn't look really great. So we're doing another one. And that literally sits on the top of the guitar. The whole pickup is only 6 millimeters thick. So it depends on the level to which you are prepared to go. You don't have to have traditional guitar potentiometers. You could have sliding pots like you would find on a mixing desk. And those things are only about 10 or 12 millimeters deep, if that. Yeah, so you can go really, really thin if you fancy it. And yeah, I fancy it. Where are we? We've been going for 1 hour and 17 minutes. So there we go. Questions. Is there any way of putting abrasive on a call for shaping the fretboard? Yes, so there we go. We sell radius blocks at Crimson, and it's got your curve, and I use the masking tape and super glue trick to put them on. And it just is, masking tape, 3 strips of masking tape, super glue, whack it on, and you're done. I remember struggling and hating because I did not know how to do that. Another option is 3M do a spray mount adhesive, which is super expensive, but that could work. It's not as durable as the masking tape and super glue trick, but yeah, it does work. And you just spray it on, glue it together, and it comes off very easily. A little bit too easily, but we're fine. Okay. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. Questions. Surface mounted P90 type pickups, absolutely. Night YYZ has seen a 3-string guitar built out of a shovel, so the body was 3 or 4 millimeters thick, I suppose. Okay, it is good. So yeah, there are many, many different options. Okay. Mr. Waffles says automotive masking tape works best for me. I agree. Now, Okay, this is a question from Stephen, SC Guitars. Says, are there any guitar shapes that you just can't get behind? You will dislike me, but no matter how much I try, I just can't make myself like Telecasters. What shapes do it for you? I need more mad pointy bits and shit. He edited out the word shit, but it was obvious what he wanted to say. So there we go. Telecasters, one of my earliest electric guitars was a cheap 70s knockoff telly with a Telecaster shape headstock, but it was giant and it was a nasty guitar, and for that reason I did not like Telecasters for a long time, and now I can't get enough of them. So tastes change, and I'm not going to judge you here. Frankly, I think I've proven that I'm not really... I've made pointlessly spiky guitars before. I've made pointlessly Cyberpunk 2077 inspired guitars. I'm not going to do it right now. I really need to do those LEDs. No, there's a guitar is a guitar is a guitar. I love the square ones. I love the bathtub shaped ones. Yeah, go for it. Okay. Alrighty, well look, I think that we are running low on questions here. Yeah, I'm running low on questions, so if you have any questions, hit me up. We will talk for another 5 or 6 minutes, but be done. Uriel Sage says, Ben, what is your preferred masking tape? I've been using standard 3M blue tape. What do you like? I think the blue tape is actually too shiny on the back of it. We are using Scotch pressure sensitive tape actually at the moment, and that works very, very well. I've also used, I think it's tape by a company called Rhino, comes to mind. But there we go. Lumberjim has sent $5 thanks very much, and said, if you're doing a 0 fret, do you use taller fret wire for that fret? I've heard both things. I have only made one guitar out of the couple of hundred that I've made with a 0 fret. And in that, on that guitar, I used a slightly bigger fret wire. Now, if you think about how you would cut a nut if you're not using a 0 fret, and you take your half pencil, run it along the top of the frets, and that marks the lowest point that you can cut. I don't cut to that point. I cut a little bit higher than that point. So yeah, you would need a fret wire that's a little bit higher, in my opinion. However, that is just my opinion. I could be wrong. Okay. And Lumberjim, being Mr. Incredible, must give you a hell of a head start when manipulating giant trees. I think that's pretty cool. So, questions. Feed me questions. Robert Tucker, how would you figure out neck spacing and offset when building a double neck? I'd draw it out full scale. There is no excuse with something like that for not drawing it out on a piece of paper at full size. You will see so many things that could catch you up that just become obvious when it's at full scale. You can often pick up old rolls of wallpaper. For the longest time, I did all of my guitar designs on this sort of florally beigey wallpaper that I just had rolls of from somewhere. Lisa says, oh, I don't remember you ever using a 0 fret. It was most certainly not on camera. A long time ago. Adam Bartram says, Ben, apologies for asking again, but do you mask cavities when spraying? Either way, why? No, I don't. I don't see the point. I do think that moving forward, I'm trying to figure out where I want to be in the market with my guitars moving forward. Not the handmade ones, but the production guitars at Crimson. And I would love to make a guitar at £20,000, just because of the challenge of making a guitar worth £20,000, where we would not only not mask the cavity, we would finish it to within an inch of its life and have artisanal wiring, But essentially, I don't mask the cavities because either they're going to have something in them like a pickup. I'm not applying huge amounts of finish. It's either an oil finish or something that I'm applying here, which is thin, or it's in the spray booth where we are, good at not overspraying and not putting too much finish. So, the pickup's going to fit in just fine. Or it's a control cavity where I'm going to paint with shielding paint anyway. So we just don't bother to actively. We just don't bother. Phil Girk has sent a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Phil. I suspect that's probably going to be the last one for the evening. Unless you guys want to go crazy. Please recommend a pull saw. I don't have one. I've never used one. Also, I just bought my second plane. I scored a number 6 and I am hooked. And so you should be. Honestly, a number 6 is, for 99.9% of work that you will ever do on a guitar, perfect. You don't need a number 7. You certainly don't need a number 8. They're long enough. But that being said, pull saw. I would say go to your closest big box store and just pick up a relatively cheap one that looks good. Especially for the first couple, you will damage them. They will. Please excuse me. They will get gunked up. You will break teeth. You will slip as you're learning and put too much pressure on, or go too much sideways and put a kink in the blade or crack it. They are incredibly delicate. They are fantastic tools to work with, but find a good cheap one, and they are fairly ubiquitous now. Now, I am currently using these, Gyokucho, Gyokucho. This is the Razor Saw Japan, number S371. This is a fantastic little saw. I got this from Workshop Heaven in the UK. My friend Matt runs that, and it's a fantastic company. And these are the ones I'm using at the moment. They are replaceable blades as well, so if you do, or when you do over time, you can just get the replacement blades and keep the handles. So it's one of those things. But you don't want to go and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a handmade razor saw or Japanese saw at this point, I wouldn't say. Okie dokie. Okay, Joe Brown says, evening all, just catching up. My question isn't guitar related yet, just you seem to always be doing so much. How do you keep organised? That's a very good question. I don't. I'm not. Okay. I'm very good at utterly compartmentalizing what I'm. My mother thought I was deaf, despite the fact that I wasn't. But she would be able to come up behind me and literally clap her hands behind my head, and I wouldn't notice. But I wouldn't notice because I remember her doing this, actually. I was sitting on the steps outside the house, reading a book. 6 years old or 7 years old or something. And I'm aware of everything else, but I am 100% focused on what I'm doing. And I think that is my only saving grace. So I'm incredibly lucky. I have a management team at Crimson Guitars and a manager at the Vintage Tool Shop. And I talk to them every day. I do. But I can talk to, for example, Tom, who is the MD at Crimson Guitars, and say, okay, Tom, what's happened? What's happening? What's the news? And he'll go, and he'll tell me 10 things. I'll say, okay, this is what I think of that, and it's done. And then for most things, it's out of my mind. Gone. Because he's dealing with it. I saw a study a couple of years back where it turns out to-do lists are a bad thing. Because, and this is very much the case with me, if I take the time to write down a to-do list, this, that, and that, and this, unless I force myself to then actually act on it, in the back of my brain, it's saying, okay, well, you've done this, that, and this. No, I haven't done it yet. I've only written down that I'm going to do it. And with a lot of people, that's the way it goes. So, yeah, you have to train yourself. I have a diary for the first time ever. I've got one of those big yearbook diaries, and I write things in it all the time. Ask about this, do that, talk about this, talk to the accountant, landlords, etc. And but the only way I am able to do all of the things that I do is that I have a fantastic team of people working with me, and it allows me to indulge myself and do this, make the videos and stuff. If I had to run the company, actively answer the phone and reply to emails and do all of that stuff, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be. That's one of my puppies. He wants to go inside. He's obviously just been put out to go for a wee. They're young. Anyhow, organised. Yeah. Okay. I'm running out of energy. Do we have any questions? Let's see. Guitar Addicts Workshop. Creever, I tried his hand with a cheap Silverline plane. Total failure. After that, a mid-price Stanley, still a failure, and I've come to the conclusion I have to spend more. You either have to spend more or you have to go to vintagetoolshop.com and buy a good vintage plane. Silverline, don't even go there. They can't even rightly be called planes. They are not fit for purpose. Just don't do it. I'm so sorry. They won't be flat. They won't have... Just nah. Whew. Jeff's guitar says, can a wrecked pull saw be used to make cabinet scrapers? You can make cabinet scrapers out of it. You can make tiny little plain saws like this out of it. I made my first fret slot cleaning saws out of old Japanese saws where most of it was wrecked but part of it wasn't. You can make very nice little scrapers. Be aware, one of my worst injuries ever was I was using a file to shape a scraper made out of just normal steel, and I slipped and I scraped my palm on the edge of the proto scraper blade. I've still got the scraper somewhere here, but it was not fun. Heart of Oak, Heart of Oak, purveyor of fine Canadian teas, and you have single-handedly demolished my standard coffee consumption. I hope you are happy, and thank you again for sending me that tea. It's incredible. It says, evening Ben, have you ever tried the Super Asilex sandpaper system? I have never heard of the Super Asilex sandpaper system. It sounds expensive, but also good. So I'll have a look. Okie dokie. Lisa says, let's see the puppy. I'm not allowed to show off the puppies. There's a boy and a girl, brother and sister. Brother is getting the snip in a couple of months for sure. But my wife has decided that you guys are just far too dodgy, and somebody may well find out where I live and come and steal them, because puppies are expensive. How the hell are puppies so bloody expensive? I know COVID happened and all that jazz, but yeah, no, they're gorgeous. They're Cavalier King Charles. They're Cavapoo, so Cavalier King Charles cross poodles, and they are absolutely lovely. Anyway, Gregory Hunt sent 20 Canadian dollars, keeping the live stream alive. Thank you very much, Gregory. We have 108 concurrent users and only 82 likes. Says, hi Ben, I have a book-matched 1/4-inch black Carina guitar top for a Les Paul project. And one of the two billets has some cupping to it. Is there any way to correct this, or will wood just go where it wants no matter what I do? Okay, if you're talking about a 1/4 inch, then it's not a problem whatsoever. Seriously, you will be able to put that down from the description. Some cupping. It's not going to affect anything whatsoever. You can clamp that down to the guitar. The cupping will go away, and the glue will hold it in place. If you have a body that is cupping, then that will pull a top. But a top, even a 16mm carved top for a carved top Les Paul, even that with 2 or 3mm of cupping or more, will not move the body. It's not an issue. So do what you need to do. Make sure it's flat. Of course, I use the masking tape and super glue trick. Tape it down onto a flat piece of plywood or MDF or something like that, and make sure that the whole surface is true to itself. When you take it off that, it's going to cup again. But you just glue that surface down to the top. Make to the body. Make sure the body is flat, and you're done and sorted, and you will never need to think about it again. Don't worry, basically. Yeah, there we go. Uriel Sage says Super Asilex is the best, and he says it with an exclamation point and in caps. I mean, you're shouting at me, dude. I don't know if I can take it. Lisa says, oh, yeah, they are beautiful. Neil Jelks says too many thieves around. It's one of those things. I mean, yeah. Lisa says next door just got a Jack Russell, €1,400. I've got a my oldest dog is a black Jack Russell cross Patterdale, and his name is Jasper, and he is 14 years old, 15 years old, something like that. Grumpy old sod now. I ran into his sister the other day. It was amazing. Literally litter sister. And he cost me, I think, 150 quid 15 years ago. And yeah, it's insane. These puppies were £3,000 each. I'm like, how much? You what? We were only going to get one. And that was a bush. And we went there, and there were 2 left. And we were going to get a boy. And I'm sitting there going, it was 2,890 or 2,950 or something. And I'm thinking, £3,000. This puppy's £3,000. That's a girl puppy. These puppies are £3,000. A girl puppy's quite cute. Darling, kids, do you mind if we get 2 of them? And they're like, Daddy! And I said, we get 2 of them, the boy's getting neutered, and we're going to breed the girl at least twice. And I'm going to make my money back. Because it's the only way I can justify spending £3,000 on a puppy, no matter how much I love the damn thing. My wife entirely saw through me, but more puppies. SE Guitar says, tip, don't buy puppies, buy vampire crabs. Much cheaper. Probably taste better. Don't have enough data. I'm very glad that you don't have enough data. Okay, everybody. Tibetan Mastiff equals $3 to $5 million. This is from Uriel Sage. He says it's the fun fact of the day. I do not believe you. Do not believe you. Divergent Guitar says, good lord, for £3,000 it should be a horse. I think horses are a whole hell of a lot more than that now, sadly. Hold on, I don't have enough signal here. Tibetan Mastiff. Cost. Dee-doo. You can buy cars for less than puppies. You absolutely can. No, puppy price for an average Tibetan cost $1,500 to $5,000 from a breeder. So there we go. I was right in not believing you, but still, okay. Bulgarian. Okay. Anyhow, it's one of those things. They are super, super, super cute, and we're going to have a couple of litters out of the little girl. Probably no more than that, because it's not a real business. But if I can make my initial investment back, that would be great. And hey, I get puppies for a while, puppies for a while as well, which is always fun. I really appreciate your support, everybody. I mean, we're all talking about dogs now and cars. Creeverize says his car cost 1/10 of the price of one of my puppies. That's incredible. Richard Garnish is saying, I think human babies cost more, so maybe puppies aren't such a bad value after all. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you have human babies, they want puppies as well. I'm incredibly lucky that I, had, all the 30 odd staff are paid and happy and good, and everybody's had raises in the last 6 months as well, come to think of it. And I had a little bit of spare cash, and my wife was desperate for puppies. Last year she was desperate for kittens. Kittens are a lot cheaper. Kittens are a lot cheaper to buy, a hell of a lot more expensive to feed. But anyway, look, we're done. We really, really, really are done. Neil Jokes says, when you were making a dog-shaped guitar, not going to happen. Lisa says, thank you yet again, Ben. Good stream. Love to you and yours. Right back at you, Lisa. Thank you very much. Leprechaun says, the live stream has degenerated to dog talk. Hee hee. If it's not watches or tools, it has to be something to cause the squirrel moment. It's this one's been a stream. I mean, dogs, vampire crabs, investing in stock markets. I think that's pretty good. But anyhow, thank you guys very much. I really do appreciate it. The live stream is going to obviously keep on happening on this extras channel, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So have a good week. I will be seeing some of you tomorrow. Rock and roll. It's been a good one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.